Hello and welcome to the How to Survive podcast. This week, Frank Darabont's modern horror movie, The Mist, which is available on Amazon Prime. So if you've got an Amazon Prime membership, do head over and give it a watch before you listen, because there's a big twist at the end, which we're going to spoil immediately as soon as I stop talking now. So that is The Mist on Amazon Prime. Thanks very much, and continue listening for about 5 seconds, and I'll start talking again at a different time. Bye.
What's going on?
It's death.
Something in the mist! Shut the doors! Shut the doors!
The only way we're going to help ourselves is to seek rescue.
Tie this around your waist.
Or four.
It'll let us know you got at least 300 feet.
There's nothing out there. Nothing in the mist.
What if you're wrong?
Then I guess the joke would be on me.
Hello and welcome to episode 97 of the How to Survive podcast. My name is Joe, and joining me, as he always does, Chris Morris.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Flustered?
No.
No.
Why would I be?
I have no idea. Maybe it's because we were supposed to start recording about 4 hours ago.
Yeah. And why didn't we?
Because you left something in your office.
Yeah.
And then had to go all the way back there.
Yeah. On a Boris bike.
Yeah. And then back here again.
Yeah. Back once again. Hey, would you say you missed me
Very good.
while I was gone?
Yeah. Actually, I'd forgotten that you were even here.
Well, whether or not that's the case, we better throw on with the show. This is The Mist, the 2007 Frank Darabont classic.
Modern film.
Yeah.
Classic might be.
Yeah, it's not
strong,
a classic.
No.
It's not that good.
But
we'll throw on.
Yeah.
Spoilers. Frank Darabont, by the way, directing his third Stephen King adaptation.
Mm-hmm. What are the other two?
Adaptation. The Green Mile.
Oh, yeah.
And The Shawshank Redemption.
Of course.
Which he won an Oscar for.
Nice.
Now, The Mist didn't win an Oscar, did it?
No, it didn't. No.
Maybe we'll find out why over the course of the next 45 minutes to an hour, as we discuss.
Yeah.
But first, let's throw on with a recap of the plot. So, Chris, The Mist tells the story of a violent thunderstorm which hits a small town in Maine, causing widespread damage to homes and businesses, including power outages and disruption of all telecommunications, which could prove important later on.
Yeah.
David Drayton leaves his wife Stephanie at home as he heads to the supermarket for food, provisions, and hardware to mend a damaged window. He takes his 8-year-old son Billy and their neighbour Brent Norton, with whom David has had a rocky coexistence as neighbours, I'd say.
Yeah.
Before they leave, though, they notice a strange mist descending from the mountains. They live on a lake, like a beautiful scenic lake.
Yeah.
And there's a mist descending.
He's a poster artist, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which is quite interesting because the walls of his office where we see him working are adorned with classic horror movie posters, such as The Thing.
And the one he's currently working on is, I don't know the name of the...
It's the Dark Tower, which is this Stephen King thing, which is now being adapted into a film.
Yeah, with Idris Elba in the lead.
Yeah.
At the packed store, shoppers and staff are surprised when local man Dan runs into the store covered in blood and screaming about some kind of danger. It's important to note he's basically followed down the street as he runs in by the mist.
Yes.
Which is now engulfed the whole town. He claims that his friend was snatched away by something in the mist. The assembled group decides that he is mad, and one man leaves to walk to his car, but is just heard screaming in the distance moments later. The rest of the people in the store hunker down, and they're briefly safe until David wanders into the storeroom in search of blankets. Whilst there, he sees that the generator is backed up, and he turns it off. As he leaves in the darkness, he hears pounding against the delivery door. He tries to gather others to inspect the door, and a bag boy named Norm volunteers to go outside and clear the blocked generator. David insists that it's too dangerous, but the local hayseeds tell him that he's a pussy and encourage Norm to venture outside.
Yeah. How does that work out, Joe?
Well, they open the door and Norm is almost immediately grabbed by a set of giant tentacles.
Yeah.
He's torn to shreds as the others fight to save him, but it proves impossible, and he's dragged outside to his doom. David is able to sever the end of a retreating tentacle as the door slams shut behind it. The witnesses to Norm's plight try to convince the rest of the group what they saw, but end up simply causing harsh divisions within the group. One group are convinced that they're lying. Another group are shown the tentacle, which inconveniently dissolves almost immediately. And a further group begin listening to one Mrs. Carmody, a local Bible basher who is convinced that the events unfolding are a sign of the apocalypse. Despite the group shoring up the windows with fertilizer, as in like bags of fertilizer stacked on top of each other, the supermarket is soon invaded by flying creatures. It's kind of a mixture of giant insects and pterodactyls.
Yeah. They are horrible as well, aren't they?
Yeah, they're minging.
Yeah.
The group tries to fight the monsters using fire. Like they've doused mops with like petrol and set them on fire.
Yeah.
But it backfires, and many of the group are injured in the flames.
Well, one of them in particular basically trips over the mop bucket of petrol and sets himself on fire.
Yes, and like loses all of his skin and his ears, and
which is one of the, here's how that scene plays out. Really, is that he trips over the mop bucket and sets himself on fire, and that's the sort of thing that in any other horror movie where there's like a giant group of people, that would be a sort of like, like a that was stupid of him sort of thing that you're not emotionally invested in. Yeah. It's like a background character that we don't know, and it's just like a stuntman doing something silly, right? But the difference is that then there's about a 25-minute period of the film which is just soundtracked with his like agonized screams, and it's like everyone just like standing around him going, "This is really horrible," because he's begging to be killed. Yeah,
and like they do close-ups of his face. His ears are burned off. It's unpleasant. It's what happens when you get badly burned with diesel, I imagine.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. It's like a silly horror movie scene that has like
you see the consequences.
Yeah, exactly.
Of that,
you see the real world results of it.
Yeah. So what that shows us in the movie is that despite the best laid plans, despite thinking, we'll fight it with fire, actually, in the mayhem that unfolds, it backfires. Also in that scene, we lose Sally. She's a checkout worker who's also the babysitter, who's also like the high school sweetheart.
Yeah, yeah.
And she gets stung in the neck by one of these bees.
Yeah.
And it kills her instantly.
No. It she has a severe allergic reaction to it.
Yes, that's right.
And in her fucking head and neck swells up to like a genuinely disturbing and horrifying extent, I found.
Yeah.
But we'll talk a bit more about this later.
Yes, we will. I'm certain of it.
Yeah.
Once they do get the fire under control and kill all the remaining monsters, David leads a group next door to the pharmacy to search for supplies. And boy, does he get supplies when he goes in there. Supplies. In the pharmacy, they find several bodies of townsfolk who have been stuck to the walls and cocooned by gigantic spiders. Several members of the party are then killed by the giant spiders.
Who have acid webbing.
Yeah. Oof. But David arrives back at the supermarket safely with a few of the group and falls asleep and then sleeps for 18 hours.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. He's been through a lot. When he awakes, the group is now entirely divided between religious nuts who follow Mrs. Commody and rational folk who look to David. The bodies of two soldiers are found hanged in the storeroom, and the surviving comrade explains that everything that's happened is due to military scientists experimenting with gateways to another dimension, which has seemingly backfired. The religious group decides that the soldier is a good scapegoat for all of the terror around them and sacrifice him to the monsters. David decides enough is enough and leads an escape party to the door. At the door, they're confronted by Mrs. Carmody, who claims she wants to kill Billy as a sacrifice. That's David's son.
Yes. It's all gone a bit sort of Lord of the Flies by this point.
Yes, there is mayhem, really.
Yeah.
A store clerk named Ollie shoots Mrs. Carmody and guides the group out the door. They make a run across the car park, but a number of the party are lost in the mist and killed. That includes Ollie himself, who's picked up by a gigantic crab-like monster and disemboweled. But luckily, he drops his gun and it lands neatly on the bonnet of David's car. David drives the remaining group, which is himself, his son, a friendly woman, an elderly man, and an elderly woman, back to his home.
It may as well be a sort of man, wife, his son, and his parents.
Yes,
essentially. It's not that, but it may as well be.
Yeah, it's the archetypes.
Yeah, it's like 3 generations of the same family, essentially, but it's not.
Once there at his home, he finds that his wife is dead. She's been cocooned to the side of the house, and it's all over for her.
Yeah.
And he's quite upset, as you would be. They agree to drive until the fuel runs out, and when it does, they're left with the severe likelihood that they will soon be eaten by monsters. They agree that suicide is a better option, but David only has 4 bullets in the gun, and of course there's 5 of them. So he shoots his son and the 3 others, and then jumps out of the car, begging the monsters to come and kill him. However, he's disappointed to see a tank barrel emerge from the fog as a military unit begins to roll past. And as they do, the mist almost immediately clears, and David falls to his knees in grief.
Yes.
That is the end of The Mist.
Yeah. I'd say one of the most significant endings of a movie, or memorable endings of a movie of the last 10 years.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I knew the ending before I watched the film.
I think that's almost unavoidable now, isn't it?
Well,
Because
especially if you are a fan of horror movies. or movies in
Yeah,
general.
and just, in movie culture at all, really.
Yeah. Once again, Chris, a Stephen King story about a misunderstood artist with ties to Hollywood who lives in Maine.
Yes, yeah. That's famously Stephen King's.
His trademark.
Yeah.
Write about what you know, hey?
Exactly, why not? Is this the 3rd Stephen King property we've covered?
We did Misery.
The Shining?
The Shining, indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
You forget that's him, don't you? Yeah, I think it must be the 3rd, yeah. 3rd for us, 3rd for
the listeners. Yeah. So what did you think of The Mist? Because you hadn't seen it before, even though you'd seen the ending.
Yeah.
Had you seen the ending, or had you just heard about it?
You told me about it in the pub.
Right.
Years ago. And it's, when you hear it, you don't forget. So...
I can only imagine that I would have done that after you'd said, I'm never going to see it, so you can just tell me.
It's before we started the podcast. So there was never any real... had it not been for the podcast, I'd never have watched it.
Yeah. Okay. So what did you think of The Mist?
Not as good as I was expecting, I'd say.
Okay.
Interestingly, what I wrote down when I write notes when I watch a film, any film, but particularly when I'm doing a podcast about it.
Yeah.
And the note I wrote down first was that it's shot and scripted like a TV show.
Yes. The crew for it was from The Shield.
Yeah. But I found that out afterwards, and I was like, that kind of invalidates my observation, because then again, it also validates it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's shot in a very. It would be the best TV movie ever made,
absolutely,
if it was.
But it reminded me a lot of Lost, Chris.
Okay.
Maybe Lost would cross with The Walking Dead. Obviously, The Walking Dead is like father and son surviving against whatever is going on.
Yeah, and The Walking Dead, of course, started by Frank Darabont.
Yeah. Well, there you go then.
Yeah.
Full circle. The entire town, Chris, this is what reminds me of Lost, right? They turn to David for no reason other than the fact that he's the main character.
Yeah. Although
what
does David do, really? Because he obviously he's the main character, but the first sort of action that he takes is when they investigate the door at the back. Yeah. And Schmitty from American Pie gets eaten by the tentacles. Yeah. And then after that, it's sort of like he's going along with it, other than when they venture to the pharmacy, and he's sort of part of that group. But I don't think he's as much of a leader as you were suggesting.
No, honestly, every time there's a decision to be made. I remember I wrote down one point where something happens, and like every character's like, David, where are you?
Right.
And it's like it's Jack Shepherd syndrome.
I get that. Yeah, I do get the comparison. Although I don't think it's as much like with Lost. Obviously, the way that ends up going, it's very much sort of like destiny, and you know, like I don't get that impression from this. It's just that he is able to keep a sort of relatively level head because he's so desperate to save his son.
I think more than that, though, they all kind of respect him because he's like the only person who's educated past high school.
Yeah, other than his neighbour who gets murdered, gets killed by the monsters.
It's interesting that the people in the supermarket kind of represent what could be considered a cross section of society, right?
Right.
Now, how much do you buy into that?
I do. I agree. Yeah, I think you've got. The film that it reminded me of when I rewatched it, and I think this is because I'd watched this other film quite recently, but it reminded me of High Rise.
Okay, yeah.
So, because obviously in High Rise, people end up stuck in the high rise building, and the breakdown in the community there is a sort of like, it becomes very sort of metaphorical, and like people are representative of, you know, the different groups that form a representative quite heavy-handedly of, you know, the different groups within society. And I think it's to some extent the same situation here, because you do end up with like the religious zealots, you get the you know, it's probably more like, you know, a community that's in crisis.
Yeah.
And you have like the level-headed people, the cynics who end up walking out into the mist. Mm-hmm. You got the religious zealots who think it's a sign of the apocalypse. So it's like, it's breaking it down into the very extremes of of society and the way society goes.
I get you.
But yeah, I think it is like it does try and become that thing of a society in microcosm. Like that's a very Stephen King trope as well. There's another book of his called Under the Dome. Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is, you know, like a town gets covered with a mysterious dome. And that is similar in the sense that because the community ends up bottled in this area, you know, they start sort of becoming exaggerated versions of their personalities or their politics or their religion or, you know, whatever.
Yeah. I agree to an extent. I wonder whether it's a bit reductionist.
Okay.
It gets a bit unbelievable when, like, within like one day they've all become religious zealots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, but then it's a very heightened film all the way through, isn't it? It's very like it's simultaneously one of the most heightened films and also one of the bleakest films you'll ever watch. Because
there's not many laughs to be had, is there?
No, exactly. And it is unpleasant all the way through. Like every element of it is just like, it's just like the overriding emotion for me is that it's just sad. Like the whole thing is so tragic. Like that this community has had visited upon them this thing that they didn't, you know, do anything to deserve. They didn't ask for it. It's not something that they've done that's brought it on themselves, but they just like subjected to this awful cataclysm. And it like, it's just so sad. Like, you know, when you get all of the typical tropey situations like High School Sweethearts and one of them dies, and you get, you know, people and his brother's ill, and you know, he wants to get out to his wife. You've got the woman at the start who is desperate for someone to help her find her children. You know, you get all of those things, but it is just because it's this really weird tone of like somewhere in between being really serious and really hysterical. It just ends up feeling, for me, really sad all the way through.
I don't know whether I got that, mainly because I didn't like anyone in the film. There's no one who I was like, I hope they survive.
Right.
Like, because it starts with them like being like sarcastic and rude to each other, the husband and wife.
Yeah.
Like, they're joking around, I'll grant you. But then he's just like a dickhead to his neighbour. He's like, I'm going to go and sue the guy. And you're like, oh, come on. Like, I don't, like, that's not enticing. And then they get in the car, they go to the supermarket. Everyone in the supermarket is a dickhead. They're all just like being mean to each other. And then it starts. And I'm like, well, they're all dickheads.
I don't think that it's as clear cut as that. I think a lot of the characters are reasonable. Like Ollie, for example, the sort of store clerk. Yeah. And he has like a nice moment where he tells his manager to shut the fuck up or something like that, doesn't he? And then you've got the cashier, Sally. That arc is, you know, nicely done in a really sad sort of tragic way. Even that, like, the whole thing is really hammy, right? It's basically a B movie.
It's cliche.
Yeah. But I think the way the way in which those tropes are played out is,
I don't know, man.
Is good.
The tropes are pretty tropey.
But you're well documented in hating tropes for trope's sake, aren't you? Like you seem to, if a film becomes too generic in the sense that it is too like a genre piece, you sort of turn off from it, I feel.
I'd agree with that, yeah. That's not something I go for.
Yeah. But I don't know necessarily whether that's like a, you know, I get that that's like your subjective view of those sorts of films, but I don't think that's necessarily a fault of the film. It's more just
absolutely, it was a good film.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why people like it, and I can see why it was good.
Yeah.
There were parts I enjoyed. Like when the monsters first come through the window, I was like on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
But that goes against two of my things. You know, it's like you say, it's tropey, but it's also CGI, and it was hammy crap CGI, but it's still very tense.
Yeah. It works well enough, doesn't it? And then I think the scene where they go to the pharmacy as well. And this ties into another thing that I wanted to bring up, really, which is that every single one of the monsters and the deaths that they cause are horrible. Yeah, like so just disgusting. The scene in the pharmacy in particular. The soldier who falls. He's been like cocooned, and he's saying how he can feel them wriggling inside him and all that sort of thing. And then he falls forward, and his like back bursts with like tiny little spiders crawling
just
out.
like been like grown inside of him.
Yeah, it is
troubling.
It's disgusting, isn't it? It's like repulsive.
Yeah.
Likewise, Sally, as I said before, who gets stung. The tentacle things that have like a maw that like rips like chunks of flesh off people.
Yep. It's good creature design for sure.
Yeah. And I, as far as I know, having looked into it a bit, all of these monsters are in the novel. Yeah. So they are all like heavily based off of Stephen King's descriptions.
Yeah.
He's a troubled man.
I'd agree with that. Taking it back to the point about it being tropey, right?
Yeah.
Would you say it takes itself too seriously? Every line is delivered with this, like, there's no nuance to it. It's just like, cold philosophy. So I've written a couple down, which are delivered in complete earnest in the film. Like, as a species, we're fundamentally insane.
Yeah, that is a particular.
Put more than two of us in a room. We pick sides and start dreaming up reasons to kill one another. Why do you think we invented politics and religion? Yeah. So,
that's Ollie, right?
Yeah.
Toby Jones.
Toby Jones, absolutely.
That is a particularly bad one. And I think it's what you're saying about it being so serious. You have to like hear the way he delivers the line, because it is just like, it's like squinty eyed and like, this is really the most important thing I'm ever going to say.
Edgelord.
Yeah.
Wish I could. As a species, we're fundamentally insane. But more two of us in a room, we pick sides and start dreaming up reasons to kill one another. Why do you think we invented politics and religion?
The other one is when Amanda Dunphy, who I think that's
the final girl, right?
Yeah, the friendly woman.
Yeah.
She's talking to Dan Miller, who's the old man, and she's like, he's been a nice guy up to now. Like, he's just been like a hard, like down on his luck kind of guy. But he's nice. And the conversation goes, "You don't have much faith in humanity, do you?" And he says, "None whatsoever." And it's like, well, nothing's happened for us to believe that. He's been really nice. Then she says, "I can't accept that. People are basically good, decent. My God, David, we're a civilized society." And David says, "Sure, as long as the machines are working and you could dial 911. But you make those things go away. You throw people in the dark. You scare the shit out of them. No more rules."
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, like...
And again, it's the delivery that makes that.
Show don't tell. Like, we can see that the world's falling apart.
I feel like this is probably lifted verbatim from the book, isn't it? this sounds like something Stephen King would write.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree. I do think though that this film does have a quality that you also find in Dawn of the Dead. Like that, it's these films are are most interesting when they focus on the sort of little people, and it's just like this thing has happened to a normal town.
Yeah,
and you know, much like the mall in Dawn of the Dead,
yeah, absolutely.
having it happen and or most of the film take place within the supermarket is an interesting bottling sort of situation.
Did you get everyone goes to the supermarket? Like, yeah. So we were texting while we were watching it.
Okay.
Even though we were in the same room.
In bed together.
Yeah. No, we weren't really. But I was saying I have a bit of a problem with the exposition. And that's like and this is an ongoing thing we have with movies, particularly horror movies, where it's like you can buy into it and like the ambiguity of the situation is almost like what makes the horror.
Yeah. So we're pretty well documented, I think, in saying that ambiguity is often what makes horror so scary. And if you go, oh, actually, it's this thing that is the cause of what's happening, then generally it might be less scary for you.
Exactly. The best example is the Blair Witch Project compared with the Blair Witch. Where in the Blair Witch Project, you don't know what it is. Yeah. And then in Blair Witch, it's like, no, it's a witch. Yeah. And you go, well, I don't find witches scary. Yeah. So the movie's not going to be scary to me. Right. So the issue, does this movie run into that same problem by saying, because throughout the movie they're thinking like, oh, I don't know what it is. It could be aliens. It could be a science experiment gone wrong. Yeah. And then at the end they're like, oh, it's they tapped into another dimension. I'm like, well, I don't really buy that. It's one step away from astral planing, isn't it? Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I think it might have been better off coming from a character who wasn't speaking with the level of authority that the soldier from that facility does. Right. Yeah. So if it was like a townsperson who was like, I've heard that they're doing these experiments.
Exactly, but that's what they've been doing throughout the film. So everyone had their own theory, and it's like they're all equally valid, and therefore the horror of the situation is like you can put your own fears into it. Yeah. Whereas to say, oh no, it was definitely the interdimensional portal. Well, that's obviously nonsense. Yeah, well, I think what the film does in that moment though is that for up until that point in the film, it's like what is the cause of this, and then you find out the cause of it, and immediately the threat transfers from like what is this mysterious thing that's happening to the people in the supermarket become the threat
because
they turn on him.
Yeah, exactly, and it's literally within that scene it turns from what is the thing, who knows, to, oh, we know now, but now we realise that the real threat here are all the people being under the influence of Mrs. Carmody.
Yeah, fair point. So you're saying that is, like, it's showing its hand that, oh, the real monsters, we were the real monsters all along, guys.
I guess, but I guess it's like, it's no longer saying that, it's like that portion before that scene of the film is, what is scary is what is in the mist, who knows, right? Mm-hmm. And then it's like after that, it's like, well, now we know what the mist is. Let's turn your attention to this other thing that is now scary. Yeah. So it gets around that thing of like, it's not going, you said astral planing, that's basically Insidious, right? You're referencing Insidious. So like Insidious, the first 2/3 of the film are like, what could it be? They're being haunted. Is it a ghost? Is it the house? Whatever. And then afterwards it's like, oh, let's venture into the astral plane because we need to fight the demon in the astral plane. Like if it was like, oh, now that we know it's a gateway, we must go to the base and close the gateway or something like that. Or, we must go to their world and take the fight to them or some shit like that. Then obviously it would the fear would completely evaporate. But I think that, even if you know what it is now, it's not really going to be much help to you.
Fair point. Yeah. Well made.
So let's talk about the ending, because that's the reason that everyone remembers this film, I think. And
there's not much else that's memorable.
Well, it does. It's an ending that is like by several orders of magnitude more famous or more well known than the film itself. I think
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, like case in point, you knew the ending before you'd seen the film.
Yes.
So, as someone who hadn't seen the film before, how did you feel the ending played out in the context of the whole film?
Well, it's hard to say because, from like when I pressed play, I knew like I'm just waiting for this thing to happen.
Yeah, but you can sort of see, watching it in the context of the whole film, you are able to take a different view on it.
Yeah, but he's the thing is, what's difficult is that David isn't a particularly sympathetic character.
Okay.
Like I found him, as I said before, I found them all to be somewhat dickheadish, and he's not a full dickhead, but he's like Jack from Lost. He's just like, he's just the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, tough guy. Oh, I'll solve the problems. I'll take it all on myself. Whereas if he'd been like a much more sympathetic, like if he'd like shied away from all the action for the whole movie and just spent the whole movie with his son, that would have made the actual like act of killing his son a lot like heftier. Not that it's not hefty, but do you know what I mean? That's the son's barely in the film.
Yes, he is basically just the MacGuffin, isn't he? Yeah.
So that, if in that sense, I was expecting it to be like The Road, but instead of like, you know, they're trying to get somewhere.
Yeah. Well, like in comparison with The Road, the ending of that, and this is spoiler territory. Well, we don't actually need to say it.
Yeah.
But the ending of The Road is devastating in a sort of emotionally resonant way.
Because you spent the whole movie with the characters involved, right? And you know their relationship, and you know how they feel about each other, and you know like that there's been a particular like action taking place for a reason. And when that final thing comes into fruition, you're like you say, it's devastating. Whereas with this, it's like, there's a relationship between the father and son, and then the father goes off and fights monsters all day, and then at the end he comes back with his son for 5 minutes and kills him. And I'm like, well, I get that. Yeah, I get the significance of it. I get that it's like sad, but I wasn't like bawling my eyes out as I expected I would be.
Yeah, I think on rewatching it, I think that the ending is actually quite cheap, and the novella doesn't end with that.
I did look that up. Yeah,
it ends with him. The last bit in the book is them in a diner or like hiding out briefly, resting,
and they hear on the radio like the name of a local town.
Yeah, that could be safe. But I think the implication is like somewhere in, because I haven't read the novella, but at some point in the last sort of few pages, there's a reference to him having a gun, but not enough bullets. Right. So the seed of that is planted within the book.
Right.
I think that is more powerful to like imply that could be what he ends up doing. Yeah. As opposed to
it's the same thing as before, right? It's the unseen horror. It's the idea of what could happen next.
Yeah.
Like when he's like got the gun in his hand, he's thinking, what do I do? If they cut it there, that's almost more powerful because you're like, oh fuck, like what would you do in that situation?
Yeah. Well, I think that the way it plays out, the film, it feels like the film is punishing him for making an emotional human decision, right? And it feels for me out of place when you rewatch the film knowing that it's coming up, because like, what are we supposed to take from that ending? Is it like, don't feel fear and sympathy for your kid, or is it don't despair when the world appears to have ended, or like, what is the point in making it so that the horror is like even worse because he didn't need to do it? Yeah. Like the fact that his son is dead is the horror. So you should cut like after he's done it, for example, or with the implication that that's what he's going to do. Like you don't need to then take it up to that next level, and it's almost like you're laughing at him. Yeah. It's like you're making a fool out of him. It's like, oh, how stupid was he? He shot his kid because he was 30 seconds away from rescue.
That is exactly what I was thinking. It makes him into like there's an element of Schadenfreude to it, because you're like, oh, like look at this idiot, right?
Yeah, but in the moment, in the moment when you're watching the film, it's the right thing to do because you don't want your kid to be disemboweled by like a 200-foot crab creature. No. So you're like, anyone with an ounce of compassion knows that is like a humane thing to do to have your son be saved from this misery, right? But to then have like him punished for making that decision, I think it's like a borderline an insult to the character, because you're like saying that this guy who has like broken his back doing everything that he can to try and keep his son safe for the last 2 hours, he's like taken this decision to like spare his son the trauma of being eaten by a monster.
At his son's behest, by the way, because earlier in the film he says something like, "Promise me you won't let the monsters get me."
Right. Yeah.
So that theoretically would give it some emotional weight.
Yeah, and the thing that he's doing by killing everyone in the car except for him is essentially like a noble sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because it's like, imagine how emotionally like raw that would be if that played out in your life. Like you'd be like, that is an incredibly kind thing to do if you're all on the same page. Like, you know, none of you want to be eaten by monsters, but that is the future that appears to await you. What an incredibly kind thing for a person to do, to go, I will let you all die
Escape
quickly and
that.
painlessly,
Yeah.
but I will get eaten by the monster.
Yeah.
Like, and then to have that, like,
Thrown back in his face.
yeah, it's like it's sort of like, I don't know. It's like, it doesn't, like the first time you see it, it's like horrifying initially when he kills all the other people, and then it's even more horrifying because you're like, oh my god, he didn't need to do that. But like that second part of it is just like a really cheap like gut punch moment.
It's a double twist.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could do that with any, like The Road. Like if the ending of The Road happened, but then it was like he was like if he'd gone like 200 meters that way, there was a hospital. It would be shit, wouldn't it? So it's the same sort of thing, and so that's why I feel like I've sort of changed my outlook on that.
It's
Outlook, eh? Stephen King, eh?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's good, mate.
Yeah.
It is time
Nice.
now
Yeah.
to talk about how we would survive if we were to find ourselves engulfed by the mist.
Yeah. Could Cujo go first?
What's that?
Which part of it?
Any?
Could Joe go first?
Cujo.
Yeah, could you go first? But also Cujo, which is a Stephen King book.
Right. Don't make me laugh, mate. Under the Don't Make Me Laugh, mate.
Oh, that's poor. That's a shame.
I forgot it. I thought it was called The Dome, not Under the Dome.
The Don't Make Me Laugh. Yes, how would you survive the mist?
So the first one is kind of a social observation, right?
Okay.
Now, if you were to come up to me, and my friends, so maybe it's a false experiment, but if you came up and said, you know, I was walking down the road and I just saw a murder. I'd say, fucking hell. And you would like visibly shaken up and sweating. I'd say, fucking hell, mate. Well, tell me more about that. I certainly believe you. If you said, I've just seen like a tentacle thing, I'd go, I'd believe that you've seen something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. But a part of your brain would instantly go, well,
he must be telling the truth.
Mistaken.
Yeah, I agree. But I'd still assume you'd seen something dangerous.
Right.
So after like 5 people come into a room and say, someone just went in there and has been killed by these tentacle things.
Yeah.
If you were, or, you know, anyone, any of the listeners maybe, came up to me and said, I've just seen this murder take place, that someone's been killed by tentacles.
Yeah.
And my instinct wouldn't be to say, you're fucking lying.
Yeah.
Fuck you, asshole. Fuck you. I'd be like, well, I understand someone's probably become to harm.
Well, it's like, well, why don't you just go like, well, where is that guy that we're talking about?
Exactly, yeah.
Also, if you're in that situation, like you're not going to look like the bad guy if you go out into the warehouse bit and just like see what they're trying to show you. Yeah. By refusing to do that, you're just like, you're making yourself look like a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
And like,
there's no reason for it. Like
the worst case scenario is that you go back there and they're like, we tricked you, and you're like, well, you're a fucking dickhead.
Yeah, there's bigger thing at fish to fry, and then they look like dickheads. But there's several times in the movie people doubt each other for no reason. It's like, so first of all, David is like telling them, don't open the door because there's something massive out there that's going to kill you. And they're like, you don't know nothing. Just because you went to college, you think you know what you... So, well, he has eyes and ears.
I didn't do like mythical beasts coming through the warehouse door studies at university, did I?
That's what I don't get, man. Like, I understand they're hayseeds and they're like, you know...
Also, he probably went to a vocational college.
Yeah.
because he's an artist. So he's not going to be like a highfalutin academic.
Yeah, Harvard Business School.
Yeah, exactly. So he's probably like, even if you went to like, what's the, like the College of Fine Art or whatever.
Right.
He's not
University of Arts London, mate. About that.
Well, yeah, but he's not going to be going to that, is he?
Maybe he did. Maybe he flew around the
in
world.
Maine. Yeah, from New England to old. He's not like he's not going to be a really highfalutin academic guy, is he?
No.
So it is weird. Like they are very just anti. They're very like
everything.
small town people. Aren't they?
Hey, you're not from around here. Why should I believe a word you say?
Yeah, exactly.
You get too big for your boots, Paddy.
Yeah. That character, the lead hillbilly, goes through about 5 character changes throughout the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He goes like obnoxious hillbilly to humble hillbilly.
Yeah, exactly. And then like angry, and then
Scared.
religious zealot.
Yeah. Oh, what a man.
Yeah.
So,
So what's the summary of your survival tip?
rather than assuming people are lying, just to assume that either they're mistaken or like they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
Right? Because you could, like, if someone said, I've just been attacked by a tentacle, I wouldn't assume nothing happened. I'd say you were attacked by something that you mistook for a tentacle.
Yeah.
But there's still something.
Allow me to take the trauma part of your message seriously.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. I've got a couple of quick fire survival tips.
Okay, go on.
First one is pretty obvious, I think, pretty cut and dry. Just shoot all your friends and family, because all the people that we see who do that survive the film.
Yeah.
Is chivalry dead, Joe? Just help the poor woman, because she and her children survive.
Yeah.
So she knows what she's doing. And stay in the supermarket, because all the people that we see staying in the supermarket, we can assume survive.
True.
So those are the quick fire headline survival tips, I think. Anything you want to bring up about any of those?
So give me the first one again.
Kill your family.
Right. Now, not enough bullets.
What do you mean?
Well, I understand kill your whole family,
Right.
but he only has enough bullets for 4 people.
No. I mean,
If you were in the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're in a car with a group. Of
So I'm
people.
driving down the road with my fiance, my parents,
Mum
in the
and
back,
dad,
and
your cats.
Yeah, the cats are there, itchy and scratchy, and a mist descends, and I say, "Oh, it's getting rough out there."
Yeah.
I pull over to the hard shoulder.
And you go, listen, if I've learned anything,
pull over to the hard shoulder, and just like kill them all. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly that. Yeah.
And
well,
then,
you based on the evidence in this film.
yeah, that's 100% survival rate.
Yeah. Exactly.
Does everyone who kills someone survive? No, Ollie dies. doesn't he?
Yeah, that's true. But he's not related to Mrs. Carmody. That's why.
Yes, true.
Second one was help the woman who wants to find her kids.
Oh, that was her at the end, wasn't it? In the back of the van.
That's right.
Like,
Yeah,
told you so.
With her like 15 children.
Yeah, like, oh, like who was right all along.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, that's another thing about the end. It's just like,
I went to my children to help them.
Yeah.
You killed your child.
Yeah.
Who's better now?
Yeah. It's odd.
What is Darabont thinking? Like, what is the moral there?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because it's not like I understand, right? Here's a situation. Here's one way of reading that. In the supermarket, he says to her, I'm only looking out for my kid, lady. I've got enough problems.
Yeah.
And she goes out, right? Now, she wasn't looking out for other kids. It's not like she was like, she is saved because she looked out for loads of kids.
Yeah.
She was also just looking out for her kids.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
So she's no better than anyone else?
No, exactly. Yeah. The only difference is that she didn't shoot all of her children.
That's true.
So, yeah.
Any more? What was the third one?
The third one was stay in the supermarket, which I think is cut and dry. I mean,
that's an assumption.
It is, but they're fleeing away from the supermarket, and the mist is like 100 meters behind them at all times.
It would be an assumption to assume they either live or die, I'd say.
Right. Okay. Well,
because by the time they leave, the big guy has shown up, and he could just like step on the supermarket and kill them all.
Okay. Yeah. Or just shoot Mrs. Carmody.
Yeah.
Yeah, but only if you're related to her.
Right. Mr. Carmody.
Yeah.
Or one of the comedy
Master
juniors.
comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you? Any more survival tips?
Yeah. Now, obviously, as we've I think we've identified, Mrs. Carmody is a problem to be overcome.
Yeah.
She doesn't actually kill anyone. Or no, she does. She sort of instigates the death of the soldier.
Yeah.
And at all times, she poses a threat.
Yeah.
So, neutralizing her.
Is this going to be mansplain atheism to her?
Well, WikiHow
Oh, God.
is our old friend.
Hang on. Is this going to be talk to someone how to deal with someone who's religious?
How to persuade a Christian to become atheist.
I'm pretty sure you've done almost exactly this
No,
before.
I did how to talk someone out of joining a cult, I think.
Right, okay, fine.
Number one, Chris, the first step from persuading a Christian to become atheist, according to WikiHow,
Yeah.
let them engage.
Okay.
Let them engage in conversation first. This sidesteps any feelings that you may be attacking their belief system with an agenda. Remain calm, firm, and reasonable. Now, I would say they remain firm with her,
Yeah.
but perhaps not calm
No.
because she's dead.
Because
They shoot her
Shoot her with
to
a gun.
death. And that's why Ollie dies, because he did not allow
Right,
her
I see,
to engage.
okay, yeah.
He flouted the rule.
Yeah.
Number two, ask questions about their beliefs. Why do they hold a particular belief? Sometimes pointing out a single fallacy every now and then is sufficient. Now, they don't do that, do they?
No.
What they do is they're quite abrasive, and they're like, "You're a crazy old bat."
A fruitcake.
Yeah, all this kind of thing. If they said, if God loves everyone, explain suffering.
Yeah, but actually there are fossils that are carbon dated to millions of years old.
Yeah, any of these things.
Yeah.
Then she might have gone, actually, you know what, you're right.
Yeah.
Number three, stay casual. Show that atheism has not impacted your life in a negative way. If they bring up their belief that God had a hand in an event in their life, it's okay to point out other factors that helped them, such as their own actions or professional skills.
Okay.
So, I mean, she doesn't actually list out any reasons that she does believe in God, I don't think.
I think she's just she's taken it as read, hasn't she?
Yeah. But what you could say is, the soldier has just told you that it's the work of mad scientists.
Yeah.
So it's not God's will.
But she just basically says, but that's why it's happened, because it's an affront to God.
Right,
and your
yeah,
science.
exactly. Everything's God's will, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Number four, socialise with them.
Right.
Spend a day with an eclectic group of friends that come from all walks of life. Exposure to others' views and philosophies helps us to expand our thinking. Now, they couldn't have been in a more eclectic place for a longer period of time.
Yeah, like we said, it's a microcosm of society,
exactly.
cross-section.
Everyone's represented in that supermarket.
Yeah.
So they did the best they can in terms of socialisation, and she still came out, as a threat. So
Yeah.
Number five, give your friend practical advice for their problems. Use personal experience to offer authenticity. If your friend shares some wisdom from the Bible, quote similar wisdom from another belief system or a wise historical individual. So when she's saying, this is a plague of locusts, as from Job 5, I'm not a Bible man. I haven't read that. Things like that.
Yeah.
If you said, Martin Luther King said, I had a dream. And she'd go, yeah, that's a fair point. I better stop now.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the
That's bulletproof, that is, yeah.
The point is,
I mean, anyone who's religious listening to this, they're going to have their heads turned. Email in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com.
so the point is,
Yeah.
none of them actually try and talk her out of her religion. And and I'm not saying there's anything particularly inherently bad with being religious, but in the movie, it does seem to be a threat, right? Because it's taken to the extreme.
Yeah. So your advice is, in summary,
Just to step in and say, look, let's moderate those beliefs a minute, just while we're here.
right?
And if you don't, we'll just tie you up and put you in the cupboard.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if they'd engaged with her at an earlier point, it might have stopped her sort of tipping over into, being a zealot.
Exactly, yeah.
If they'd gone, well, that's interesting that you think that, but ultimately that's not a practical solution to the situation that we have at hand at the moment. But maybe if you come with me and sort of they engage with her and help, you know, can you help us stack fertilizer or
exactly.
tend to this burnt man's wounds?
Well, how about this? You know, what's her name? Cardaway.
Carmody.
Mrs. Carmody. You know what you're good at? Praying. Why don't you your top prayer
set
around
up
here?
a quiet prayer corner?
Yeah, exactly. Why don't you lead us in silent prayer?
And then when she's not looking, Ollie shoots her in the head with a gun.
Exactly. Tie her up, put her in the cupboard, shoot her.
Yeah.
Any of these things to get her out of the way.
Fine. Just get rid of Carmody, basically.
Yeah, she's the threat,
Yeah. Keep Carmody and carry on. My next survival tip, this applies to last week's film Twister as well, and of course this is our weather season on that as well. Just pack up your things and flee at the first sight of inclement weather of any kind. Because there's no guarantee that it's not interdimensional beings coming to slaughter you.
There's not. I mean, we've had a few storms lately in London.
Yeah.
At no point did I think this is it.
But but if it was an interdimensional cloud of aliens or whatever, would packing up your things and fleeing at the first sight of it been a valid survival technique because you would no longer be in the vicinity of the storm?
But we don't know how far the mist spread. It would be an assumption.
No, but it doesn't matter how far it spreads as long as you keep ahead of it. If it covers the whole globe, then fine. There's nothing that anyone can do, is there? But assuming it's got a certain radius, it's clearing out by the time.
Rule 2 of the podcast. Don't assume.
But that's based on evidence. Well, I'm extrapolating rather than assuming because at the end of the film, the fog is dissipating and you can see for quite some distance.
Is it moving or is it just?
Well, so you think it might be like
up?
a ring of mist?
I've no idea.
Well, exactly, yeah. But neither do I. But fleeing away from the mist as soon as you see it, and
it's
indeed
a gamble,
any
Chris.
storm.
It's a gamble.
Yeah, but then what are the downsides? Tell me the downsides.
Well, you might be unnecessarily uprooting your
Yeah, but
your
would you
family.
survive?
We don't know. We can't say.
Well, what you said. Why wouldn't you survive in that situation?
Because the mist might cover the whole globe.
Yeah, but then it doesn't matter what you do, is it? But like, if you're fleeing from it,
You're not guaranteed to. Although, what I would say, to take it back to last week,
yeah.
I think you said don't drive in dangerous weather.
No, actually, what I said was do become a storm chaser because the death rate among storm chasers is vanishingly small.
So what they should do is drive to the next town and then follow the mist everywhere it goes.
Yeah, but not ever close enough.
Yeah.
Always crash your car at an inconvenient point.
Yeah.
But just flee the mist is my controversial advice. Flee any weather of any kind, including sun.
Yeah, fair point.
Yeah. Any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, just one more. So you said early on, shoot your whole family. I'm going to go the other way and say don't shoot anyone.
Okay.
Because as we see in the final scene, you're not always guaranteed to be killed by a monster.
No.
So had they just waited in the car and gone, I understand the need not to be eaten by a monster, right? I get that. But if they just gone, we'll wait out. If something gets near us, I'll pull the trigger. Or if we're under threat, we agreed that's what we'll do. But they're not.
Just be patient, basically.
Exactly. Wait it out. You don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Like it was rash to kill everyone.
That's another thing actually about the ending that doesn't quite ring true, is that it doesn't feel like they're in like imminent danger.
No.
It's sort of like a more existential sort of like sad danger.
Yeah.
So you are right in the sense that if they'd just been a bit more patient, they might have been all right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Patience is a virtue.
Yeah, but a huge one in this film.
Yeah. That's fair enough.
But it's not like
net survival as well.
Like I understand if he'd killed them and then spent the next week looking for help, or looking for a way to die, and then the army arrived, he'd be like, "Oh, that's understandable." Yeah. It's literally seconds.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you could count it out loud.
Next time, this is advice for the listeners. Next time you are about to pull the trigger on your family, just go, well, let's give it 5 minutes.
Yeah. Help could arrive any moment.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a valid piece of advice, yeah. My final thought was for the soldier who gets sacrificed to the monsters.
Okay.
Just as soon as you get wind that that experiment that you're sort of partly responsible for by proxy has gone a bit wrong, and the town is being ravaged by monsters.
Yeah.
Just pop that uniform off.
Yeah.
And throw away the name badge.
Yeah.
And the ID card. And go, the what? Up there? No. I work in the next town. I'm actually from over there in Shelbyville.
Shelbyville.
Yeah.
Good Simpsons reference.
Yeah. So actually, I don't know this is about. This weather, though, it's mad, isn't it? Anyway, let me help you stack this compost or whatever up against the window. Yeah. So yeah. If you're well aware,
what's his name? James. Never heard of him. But my name's Bames.
Yeah. Oh, it's nice to meet you. I've literally known you all the years you've been growing up in this town. No, that must be my estranged twin brother who's up in the forest right now. Yeah.
Why did you flirt with me in high school and never ask me out? No, you must be thinking of my brother. He's gay. I would have asked you out immediately.
Yeah. Had I ever met you, which I haven't. Anyway, must be going. I need to tend to this man's wounds. Yeah. It doesn't end well for him, does it? Because he becomes a scapegoat, as you said.
But equally, when his comrades hang themselves and they go, tell us what's going on. Go, don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, really sad.
Yeah. Oh, they killed themselves because they didn't want to get eaten by monsters. It's what everyone's doing these days.
Yeah.
That's
just
all.
feign ignorance.
Yeah. I have no idea. You sure? Yeah. I really they wouldn't tell us anything. It's obviously
but
top
we've
security.
heard rumours of the stuff
I
going
don't know
on.
about that. Honestly, it's top clearance.
So what are you doing up there?
Peeling spuds.
No. But I mean, the army generally could be doing stuff up there.
Yeah,
So you're just low clearance.
Yeah, it's low clearance.
Low clearance. You might not even know what you're talking about then, mate.
As you know,
it could be doing all these experiments ananyway.
They could be. Look, I can't confirm that.
Yeah, but you're responsible because you're wearing the badges, mate.
No. What I do is I peel the potatoes.
No. You got this the wrong way around. What it needs to be is they go, but we've heard all these. And you go, no. I'm actually a super army soldier, and I can tell you that actually what's going on up there is, and then just invent something that's
you know what it is? Mermaid experiments.
Yeah, sexy mermaids.
They've got 10 mermaids and
10 mermaids for every man. Yeah.
Do you know what's really going on up there? You think I'm just a trainee. Actually, I'm the major general. Yeah. And let me tell you what's going on. A big spud peeling operation. I'm the guy they bring in to peel spuds faster.
Yeah. So
keep your mouth shut is the ultimate point there, isn't it?
Yeah. Keep quiet. Take your uniform off. Yeah. Change into your civvies. Job done.
Well done. Well, that's about it. I think we're thoroughly prepared to survive in the mist now.
Yeah.
Should any inclement weather come our way. If you've got any thoughts on how you'd survive the mist or Twister, or next week's movie, Cabin in the Woods, which is on Netflix.
Yeah.
To watch.
Yeah, we've been asked to cover Cabin in the Woods a few times. Yeah. Most recently, Victoria on Twitter.
Well done, Victoria.
It's Victoria with some numbers after her name, but she'll forgive me for not remembering them. Yeah. And next week, Cabin in the Woods for episode 98.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a good one. The problem with Cabin in the Woods, we watched it, last night before. Hard to come up with ideas for how to survive.
Well, we'll see about that next week. Let's not blow our load too early.
No, and if you've got thoughts, do email in howtosurviveshow@gmail.com, or you can reach us anytime on @howtosurvivepod on Twitter. Or write to us at howtosurvivetowers.howtosurviveshow.london.
And one guy, Kevin from Dublin, he wrote in by carrier pigeon, I think. And he was talking about Twister last week, which you remember, Joe, there was some debate among us as to the meaning of a couple of lines of dialogue in the film. The "who are these people? I don't think so" exchange between the two main characters in the sort of climactic scene. Unfortunately, Kevin seems to have sort of like reiterated our
both of our arguments.
But that's fair enough, because it is, as we made clear on the podcast, a completely incomprehensible and baffling scene.
It reads like Kevin's gone down on one side of the argument, then halfway through his email he changed his mind.
But there's like I said, it is totally understandable, because the scene is completely incomprehensible. But thank you very much for your email, Kevin. That's HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com if you want to get in touch.
Thanks again for listening, and until next week, we'll leave you with this thought.
You will be missed.
I have a dream.